1964. The Voting Rights Drive, nicknamed Freedom Summer. After the passage of the 1964 Civil Rights Act, attention in the civil rights movement turned towards the vote. In the summer of 1964, college students organized a voting rights drive in Mississippi, nicknamed Freedom Summer. They wanted to get the Black community to vote and gain national attention on the conditions in Mississippi. Several thousand Black and white college students spent the summer in Mississippi trying to help register the state's Black voters. They also taught them about politics and history in their freedom schools, things which would help with the literacy test. The Black community faced severe intimidation from Mississippi's elected officials, business leaders, and the Ku Klux Klan. The civil rights workers experienced violence. 3 volunteers were murdered. 3 others were shot. 80 were beaten, and more than 1,000 were arrested. In Mississippi, local officials did not charge anyone for the 3 murders of the civil rights leaders. It was up to the federal court to bring charges against 7 individuals related to the murders. None of them served more than 6 years, but it was the first time in Mississippi since Reconstruction that white men were convicted of civil rights violations. Despite the obstacles, 62,000 members of the Black community cast ballots during the freedom vote. National attention turned toward the situation that members of the Black community faced in Mississippi, and more support was gained for voting rights laws. Everyone loves a good march, or at least I do. It's fun to cheer things on, but that's not going to be the experience of the civil rights marchers who went on the march from Selma to Montgomery. 1965, Selma to Montgomery marches. Attempts to register Black voters met tough resistance. In 1965, Martin Luther King Jr. led thousands of nonviolent demonstrators to Montgomery, Alabama, on a 5-day, 54-mile march from Selma, Alabama, where protesters had been campaigning for voting rights. Selma was chosen because only 2% of Selma's eligible voters had registered to vote, and they thought that Sheriff Clark's brutality would gain national attention and pressure the federal government to support a new voting rights law. More marches followed. The protests gained national attention when a state trooper shot Jimmy Jackson in Marion when he tried to protect his mother. In response, organizers planned another march from Selma to Montgomery on March 7th. State troopers met the marchers on Pettus Bridge and attacked the crowd with clubs and tear gas. Retreating marchers were chased by mounted policemen. This became nicknamed Bloody Sunday. Television coverage of Bloody Sunday outraged the nation. Lewis, a marcher who had been beaten, said, "I don't see how President Johnson can send troops to Vietnam. I don't see how he can send troops to the Congo. I don't see how he can send troops to Africa and can't send troops to Selma." After Bloody Sunday, the federal government supported the marchers by having the U.S. Army and Federalized National Guard escort them the rest of the way. 50,000 supporters made it to Montgomery. President Johnson called for the passage of the Voting Rights Act.